Welcome back to our cost breakdown for our Amazing Race series. My husband and I raced around 5 different European countries over a course of 9 days. The total trip cost for us was 2,825 euros, about $3,300. I'm breaking down all of the costs so that if you're planning your summer trip, you can plan exactly our trip or you can take pieces of it. Because it was an Amazing Race style trip, we completed challenges, did activities, explored cities in a new way. You can do exactly these or just take an activity or two that you find the most interesting. This part is going to talk about the cost breakdown of our travel to Croatia from Slovenia, as well as what to do when an unexpected trip delay happens in Europe. And why I would avoid the Dubrovnik airport at all costs. Let's get into it. If it's your first time seeing me on YouTube, hi, my name is Taylor from Run Away From Home. My husband and I live here in Portugal with our 2 dogs, and we travel the world. We love live music and travel. Normally, we bookend our travel or plan our travel around a concert, live music, festival event. But we're also huge fans of the Amazing Race. We love board games, we love experiencing different cultures and traveling to new places. Over the summer, we decided to make our own Amazing Race. We planned the entire trip full of puzzles and clues and challenges and activities. We packed in so much every single day. It was truly an adventure. In order to get from Ljubljana to Dubrovnik, you can do this on so many ways, and I tried to make it as creative as possible. I was looking into taking ferries, self-driving, all these different things, and I ended up with a little bit of a hybrid. We took a shuttle from Ljubljana to Zagreb, Croatia. I thought it was going to be like a shuttle bus. It ended up being a private driver with just a van. It had 4 other passengers in it and us, so it was a really small little van. It cost 37 euros and 50 cents for both of us, Mike and I together, to go from Ljubljana to Zagreb, Croatia. It was a very early morning for us, especially after doing canyoning, cliff diving the night before and being out at a club the day before. We ended up going to see live music. Anyway, we were exhausted. It was an early morning, but we planned it so that we could catch a flight the same day we left Ljubljana. Once we were at the airport, we did not have a lounge access like we normally do. We ended up spending 28 euros for breakfast/lunch at the Zagreb airport. We flew Croatia Air from Zagreb to Dubrovnik. That cost us 182 euros. Our bags were included. I talked about before on the budget airlines how you have to pay for carry-on bags. We didn't have to pay for our carry-on bag. It was not clear on the Croatian Air website, but we took the gamble, did not prepay for our bags, and they didn't charge us for them. We absolutely loved Croatia Air. It was a great airline, good experience from start to finish. Zagreb Airport is pretty cool, and they have some interactive museums and stuff. So if you are going to be going to Dubrovnik, I actually think flying to Dubrovnik from Zagreb, if it's easier for you to get to Zagreb, is a great way to do it. You can also do a shuttle from Zagreb all the way to Dubrovnik, or a van or a bus, I mean. You can do that as well. We were on a time crunch not only because it was a race, but also because we were meeting up with our friends. Our accommodations in Dubrovnik cost 290 euros. This was split. So we split it with our friends. We all stayed together. We booked it on booking.com. It was really a cool place. It had a hot tub. It had a great setup of a split floor plan and a really nice courtyard patio. It looks like we're filming in front of a green screen on part of it, but because it was completely storming, which should have been an omen for how part of this Dubrovnik trip would go. We didn't get to experience the hot tub, but yeah, it was a really cool spot. I'll put a link to it in case you want to stay at it. And it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And it would be great for 2 couples, or Mike and I each had our own twin bed with a little room divider. So if you're a couple with 2 kids, cool spot, hot tub, beautiful patio, would stay here again if I go to Dubrovnik. I don't know that I will. Right when we arrived, we had one of our detours was to take a rideshare or to take a taxi. We ended up doing rideshare. It was 25 euros from Dubrovnik to where we were staying, the Dubrovnik airport to where we were staying. The airport is not very close to where you would actually stay, either in Old Town Dubrovnik or closer to where we stayed, which is a little bit outside of town. It's not close, so you're going to have transportation from the airport to anywhere. There's not a lot right next to the airport. Just know that if you're planning your trip. Both Bolt and Uber work in Dubrovnik. Then we took an Uber to Old Town Dubrovnik from where we were staying. It ended up being 14 euros and 40 cents. Because we were with another couple, we basically split it to where we would get one-way Uber, they would get the other way. We ended up going to a very nice restaurant, a Balkan restaurant called Taj Mahal. It was 83 euros total for our portion that we paid. And again, like I've been saying this whole time, we did not limit ourselves. We ordered anything we want. We had a whole meat platter, everything. Now, I do think that you can find similar quality food for a much better price, but this was a great way to kind of treat ourselves after being towards the end of the amazing race and seeing our friends for the first time in a long time. For leg 7, that's all we did. It was a complete travel day. You know, traveling to Dubrovnik took almost the entire day from Ljubljana. We were able to explore Old Town. If you're into clubs, they have a ton of clubs in Dubrovnik. You could keep the night going all night long. The weather was awful during our trip, so we ended up kind of getting rained out, but it didn't matter because we were with good company. We caught up. The host left us wine, so we had wine together at the place where we were staying, and it was a perfect way to start our Croatian experience. So leg 8. Leg 8 was our only full day in Dubrovnik, and we did a lot. When we woke up, you know, Mike and I had been used to this race style pace, and our friends were struggling with jet lag. So we woke up early and did our first challenge, which was grocery shopping with the leftover money that we had from the Uber detour the day before. So we had a budget of 25 euros. We ended up only spending 15 euros, and we got a lot of stuff. We got wine, we got fresh bread, we got some snacks, you know, eggs, some cheese, I think, stuff to start the day. Or one of our budget tips if you are traveling is kind of get groceries for breakfast. So whether it's the farmer's market in Ljubljana or it's the little grocery store in Dubrovnik, getting some staples that you can have if it's bad weather or just to feed yourself while you're waiting for your group to get ready. Always have food for breakfast stuff. Then we did our challenge of our Game of Thrones inspired challenge. If you're Game of Thrones fans, Dubrovnik is great. We went into Old Town. We thought it would be actually not so crowded because it was rainy, and when I say rainy, I mean downpouring for most of the day. But we ended up having a little break in the weather and explored Old Town. I gave the Game of Thrones tour and we had to find all the different locations for that challenge. It was really fun doing it as a group. We planned it and did it ourselves, so you can make this your own experience. You know, it's free to explore. You don't have to spend money when you're just wandering around Old Town. If you wanted to walk the wall of Dubrovnik, the upper wall level, that does cost money. We all decided that we didn't want to commit to doing that all day, but we did want to see some of the sights in town that we, like the night before when we were in Old Town, we wanted to see them in the day. And we went to a lot of them. You can pay to enter many different places in Dubrovnik, but we did it all the freeway and just explored from the outside and enjoyed each other's company. We ended up getting gelato at a really delicious place there. It cost 8 euros for gelato for 2 of us. We also had, the 4 of us found a little place in an alley in Old Town, and we had a late lunch, early dinner. It cost 25 euros. That night was the night we also went to the Underground Castle Club as our final pit stop of Dubrovnik. The club experience was free because we were actually there. There was a big group of people, friends that were there for a wedding, and so they invited us to go along to the club and the pit stop. So everything at the club was free. I actually ended up having only one glass of champagne because I had the incident there where someone tried to sexually assault me in the bathroom. So we left a little bit early, didn't have a lot to drink, and we did not pay for our drinks. So it was a really fun time up until that moment. Cool environment up until that moment. The culture of masculinity in Dubrovnik is different than what I'm used to. Guys were not taking no for an answer throughout my entire time there. Just keep an eye out in Dubrovnik. I found that to be the case throughout the area. A lot of young people were there partying until 4, 5, 6 in the morning. And I just give that warning, if you're going to be traveling there alone or if you're traveling there as a woman, just know it's not the best experience for me there. I would not go back. Let's put it that way. It was really cool, really fun. I'm grateful our friends invited us. I'm grateful we got to experience that, see what it was like, but I could have gone without having to lock myself in a castle dungeon for safety. Overall, we didn't spend a lot of money in Croatia, especially that day. We did a lot of free walking around and stuff like that. The next leg was our mega leg. The mega leg was mostly travel. So this was when things got crazy. It was already crazy with the rainstorms. It was crazy because of what happened in the club. And then we had to go to the Dubrovnik airport super early in the morning. So we were at the club, we got home, kind of went to bed around like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then we had to be leave for the airport at 6 in the morning. So we got about 3 hours of sleep. The bolt to the airport from where we were staying cost 31 euros. So it is quite a trek, to get to the airport, especially because it was so early. The most expensive portion was this flight from Dubrovnik to Cologne to Faro. It's 366 euros for both of us, including our carry-on bags. I found the best deal on kiwi.com. I don't usually book through third-party sites because they kind of can have issues if you have trip cancellations, delays, need to change something. But in this case, it was about 200 euros cheaper than booking it directly through Eurowings. Eurowings is one of the budget airlines in Europe. We show up at 7. Our flight was canceled. I'm gonna backtrack, rewind. When Mike and I first went to Europe together, it was our first European vacation. We actually took a cruise, a Mediterranean cruise. We were leaving from Phoenix, Arizona, that's where we lived at the time. We were supposed to fly into Venice to take this cruise, right? I'm gonna make this as short as possible. Basically, we bought the guaranteed flight through the cruise. Basically, the cruise left without us because of this flight disruption that we had. And we ended up, the cruise line sent us to Dubrovnik to be picked up by a cruise representative to catch the boat in Montenegro. It's another option if you're going to Dubrovnik. You can fly into Split or Kotor, Montenegro, and then make your way to Dubrovnik. When we arrived in Dubrovnik, nobody was there. And this was after we had been traveling for 48 hours straight. Because of these, we were trying to catch this boat, so we had already been flying around all these different countries. Our bags were lost, we had nothing with us. This was before the time it was easy to have cell service when you're internationally traveling. Anyway, so we ended up at the Dubrovnik airport. We were stranded there for 8 to 10 hours with no cell service. So we were on landlines, trying to coordinate how we were actually gonna make it to our boat. And again, this is our first time in Europe. So we were stuck at that airport. We had spent already like 8 to 10 hours at that airport until they finally figured out. We ended up going to Athens and later catching that boat. We already had like weird feelings about Dubrovnik because we had already been stranded there before. So of course, when we show up this time for our mega leg, finishing out the trip after what happened the night before with only 3 hours of sleep, our trip is canceled. There is no Eurowings desk at the airport, no customer service at all. I would call them and they basically said, oh, sorry, we just decided not to send the plane. Like, there was no reason for it. It wasn't weather, it wasn't a delay. This was the first flight of the delay. There weren't enough passengers for the cost to be worth it to them, so they just didn't send a plane, and they don't have any customer service desk. Everyone on our flight was stranded in the Dubrovnik airport. Again, Eurowings tells me the next flight is over 2 days, more than 2 days later, and it would get me to Frankfurt, Germany. And so not even to Portugal. They said there is no possibility to get you to Portugal using Eurowings. So you need to book a different flight on a different airline and then file for reimbursement. In that leg 9, when you see our travel plans changing in the background, I'm researching flights. I'm reaching out to our credit card company, seeing what can happen. I'm reaching out to Kiwi. Nobody is helpful. Nobody. It's just Eurowings telling me that I just need to book a completely separate day of ticket at the peak season for travel in Dubrovnik. Not to mention we had the plans in Cologne, all of this stuff, right? So Mike and I are looking, there's nothing. Our credit card company that we have some flight insurance, like a trip delay insurance on, they tell us that, oh, here's a flight for 4,000 euros. You pay out of pocket, we'll reimburse you. No, was not about to do that. I finally found a flight that was, it ended up being just under 900 euros. It was Vueling, went from Dubrovnik to Barcelona to Lisbon. Keep in mind, we were going to Faro Airport, which is close to our house. We also have 2 dogs. We had to get there by a certain day because our dog sitter was leaving and we had to make sure that we can get back to our dogs. So the best option was the one to go to Lisboa. Rather than spending the night in Cologne, we'd spend the night in Lisboa and then come back down to Lagos, Portugal. It's really easy to get to from either airport, but it is a lot longer. So we booked this flight for 800 something euros on Vueling last second. And instead of leaving at, the flight was leaving at 7 or 8 in the morning. Instead of leaving at then, it left at 2 p.m. So we ended up walking to the nearby restaurant because you're also not allowed to go within the area like past check-in more than 2 hours in advance. So you have to wait until 2 hours in advance of your flight to even start going through the security to where you would go to the gates for the airport and where most of the restaurants are. So Mike and I walked to a nearby restaurant. We ended up having breakfast there and for 25 euros. So we had our meal there. It was kind of a sketchy walk. You can see that in our episode. So we decided to bolt back. The bolt back was 11 euros and 70 cents. So really short distance, but Bolt and Uber tend to be a little bit more expensive in Dubrovnik. When we got back, we did get a priority pass lounge. So that saved us a little money. We had lunch there where we witnessed someone almost die. And that was a lot. It was a lot for 12 hours. So when you see the footage of me saying, oh, it's a lot in the video, leg 9 mega leg video, it's because within a period of less than 12 hours, someone tried to sexually assault me at a club. Our flight was canceled. We had to end up spending about 1,000 euros out of pocket to just get to Portugal. And then someone almost died. And the Dubrovnik airport was not trained in any way. The medical team took forever to respond. It was thanks to passengers that this person ended up being okay. He ended up having a full medical team of travelers, doctors and nurses from around the world came to help him. It was really scary. I've never seen someone like almost die in front of me, and seeing his wife scream for help, it was a lot. Anyway, we are very good with the flow people. That was a lot to take in. We're out of Croatia, thankfully, finally. We're in Barcelona, we're at a great lounge. We had great meals there. The best lounge food I've ever had was the Barcelona Airport Food Lounge. So no money spent there. We end up in Lisboa. We're familiar with Lisboa, right? I booked a last second hotel. Our hotel at the HF Phoenix was 116 euros. That's same day booking. It was a really, really cool hotel, musical themed, loved it. I wrote all the clues and challenges for that episode on the flight to Barcelona. Mike had no idea what to expect, no idea where we were going. He didn't even know if we were going back to Lagos that same day, but we stayed at the hotel that night. It was really fun. We loaded 10 euros each onto the Metro cards because we go frequently. So we just loaded some cards. Metro is very affordable. You can pay tap to pay on the Metro in Lisboa, so really easy to get around there. The final challenge for that day, once we arrived in Lisboa, was ordering Uber Eats in Portuguese. That cost 31 euros. We ordered as much as we wanted. It had been a day. 31 euros gets you a lot here. And then we booked a last minute bus because we couldn't book it in advance and it was August. Our bus cost 44 euros to get from Lisboa to Lagos. Typically, if you're booking a bus, you can get a bus ticket for under 10 euros between the two cities. It takes about 4 hours to get from Lisboa to Lagos. So we got there, and everything we did in Lagos was free. We solved puzzles and challenges and then went to the marina and saw the octopus, and so all of that was free. We ended up spending, not that much money, honestly, throughout Croatia and throughout Portugal. The big unexpected expense was this flight. I calculated the unexpected costs of the flight plus the flight that was canceled. It ended up being 1,700 euros. 1,700 euros of just waste because the flight was canceled. If you are flying within the EU, you do have rights. For an extended delay like that, you get paid 600 euros. Like, that's what you get paid. In our case, Eurowings is also supposed to cover the cost of the unexpected costs that came up, including the transportation, hotel, food, all of that. All of that was additional costs that we did not anticipate. And I did not include that in the full cost of the trip because it wasn't really an expense. It shouldn't have been an expense. But we have filed a claim with Eurowings. They paid a refund for 1/2 of the canceled flight ticket. Then they have not, currently as of today, have not reimbursed us, and they are obligated to do so. So we are still working out how to do that. Any of these EU airlines, they have a claim or reimbursement or know your rights section of their website. You follow those steps and you are able to get your 600 euros of trip delay, up to 600 euros. If you have an extended delay, I think it's over 6 hours. So it's up to 600 euros. Obviously for like a 2-day delay, we're gonna get the 600 euros, the maximum benefit. And then they're also supposed to pay you for those unexpected charges. They have not done so yet. However, I'm in communication with them. I get an email from them about once every 3 months asking me for receipts, of which I provide and of which they have not sent reimbursement for. That being said, I'm confident that eventually I will get reimbursed for those expenses for the Vueling flight and the hotel and transportation. If you experience any delay and you're traveling within the EU, to the EU, from the EU, make sure to check your rights. There are times where we've had such a significant delay, it actually paid for our entire weekend getaway. So it's worth always checking. Anytime you have a delay, it's worth going through those claims. We've done this many times and we've always been paid back. It's only on Eurowings that I've had issues. I'm just sharing that story as kind of a warning of 1, Dubrovnik Airport, 2, of flight delays and cancellations. They're less common here in the EU because of these policies, so you can get reimbursed. That's the full cost breakdown. Overall, I felt extremely safe on this entire journey. The only time I didn't was at an underground club in Dubrovnik. All the rest of the time, I felt confident, safe, doing all the activities. I hope you enjoyed that entire cost breakdown and hopefully inspired you to go to some countries you haven't been to yet, especially Slovenia. This was one of the most fun experiences that we've ever done together. I would do it again and again and again. It was fun to work together on challenges. It was fun to accomplish these crazy tasks that we normally wouldn't do. All of that came together to just be a memorable, once-in-a-lifetime trip. Memorable trip that's hopefully not once in a lifetime. Thank you for watching this cost breakdown. You can see all the different activities we did in the original 9-episode YouTube series. I hope you have the best time traveling around Europe, and subscribe to see more international travel, music events, and life in Portugal. Ciao!
Yeah.